I was ready to let them die, standing there in knee-deep snow, looking at two dark shapes lying beside a cluster of pines. My hand gripped the reins tight.
My horse Dutch had already turned halfway around. Just one more second, one light pull, and I would have ridden home. Left them to freeze in the night. Nobody would know.
Nobody would blame me, but I couldn't, not because I'm a good man, but because 7 years ago I turned my back once, and the woman I loved died because of it. The wind cut across the Wyoming plains like a blade. February 1883, the kind of cold that makes your lungs burn with each breath.
I'd been out checking the north fence line where the storm 2 weeks prior had torn down 3 posts. Ranching alone means you can't ignore the small things. Small things become big problems fast.
Dutch stopped without me asking. He's 22 years old, been with me longer than any person. He knows when something's wrong before I do. His ears flicked forward. His body went rigid.
I followed his gaze through the falling snow. 2 shapes, dark against white, too still. At first, I thought they might be logs, deadfall from the ridge, but Dutch doesn't fear wood.
I dismounted slow. My boots sank deep. The wind pushed against me like it was trying to turn me back. Maybe it was trying to save me from what came next.
Because the moment you decide to help someone, your life stops being just yours. I walked closer. The snow crunched under each step, loud in the silence. Then I saw clearly.
2 women, native, Apache maybe, judging by the beadwork on what was left of their clothing. Their skin had that gray-blue tone that comes just before death.
Hair black as coal, frozen in thick strands, lips purple. One was completely still, the other barely, almost nothing but her chest moved. I knelt beside the first one.
Placed 2 fingers against her neck, cold skin, so cold it felt like touching stone. But underneath, faint, barely there, a pulse. The second woman's eyes opened a crack.
She looked at me but didn't speak, didn't beg, didn't plead, just looked, like she'd already made peace with dying. But I hadn't made peace with watching it happen. 7 years ago, I stood in snow just like this, beside another woman, blonde hair, blue eyes already closed. Her name was Margaret, and I arrived 10 minutes too late. Just 10 minutes, that's all it would have taken. 10 minutes earlier, and she'd still be breathing, still be sitting by the fire in our cabin, still be laughing at my terrible jokes.
I looked at these 2 Apache women, and I made a decision. This time I wouldn't be late. The first woman I lifted onto Dutch's back. She weighed almost nothing. I could feel every bone through the layers of frozen cloth, ribs too prominent, arms too thin. How long had they been running? How long without food?
I secured her with rope, careful not to tie too tight, but tight enough she wouldn't fall. The second woman was heavier, not by much, but enough to notice. She tried to help me.
Pushed herself up with arms that shook, but her legs had no feeling left. They dragged useless in the snow. I said to her, "Hold on to me."
I don't know if she understood English, but she grabbed my coat with both hands. Her fingers locked into the fabric like claws, and she didn't let go.
The ride back to my cabin was 3 miles. Might as well have been 30. Dutch struggled under the weight of 3 people. I walked alongside, one hand on each woman to keep them from sliding off. The wind howled. Snow came down so thick I could barely see 10 feet ahead. I lost my bearings twice.
Started walking in circles, but Dutch knew the way home. He always does. When the cabin finally appeared through the white curtain of falling snow, I dropped to my knees, not from exhaustion.
From relief, the kind that makes your whole body go weak. This time I wasn't late. I dragged them inside one at a time. The cabin was dark, cold.
I'd left before dawn to check the fence. Hadn't bothered with a fire since I planned to be back by noon. Now it was nearly evening. I worked fast, lit kindling in the stove.
Added larger pieces once the flames caught. The fire grew. Yellow light spread across the small room. I removed their wet clothes. Tried not to look more than necessary. Just did what needed doing.
Their skin was ice. 3 fingers on the older one's left hand had turned black. Frostbite. Bad. Might lose them. The younger one's left foot was swollen to twice its normal size.
Ankle broken or badly sprained. I wrapped them in blankets. Wool blankets I keep stacked near the stove. But those weren't enough, so I went to the chest at the foot of my bed.
Opened it for the first time in 7 years. Inside, folded neat and careful, was Margaret's quilt, the one she made during our first winter together. Blue and white squares stitched by hand.
Some stitches crooked, some perfect, all of it her. I'd never let anyone else use it, never even taken it out to look at, but tonight I had no choice.
I spread it over both women, tucked it around their shoulders. It seemed right somehow, like Margaret would have wanted it this way.
She always said our home should be a place where people could find warmth, not just from the fire, but from knowing someone cared whether they lived or died. I boiled water, made thin broth from dried beef and potatoes. While it cooked, I sat on the floor beside them, watched their chests rise and fall, shallow breaths, but steady. My hands shook.
Not from cold, from the weight of what I'd done. If they didn't warm up soon, I'd lose them anyway. All this effort, all this risk, for nothing. But I couldn't think that way.
I lifted the older one's head, brought a cup of broth to her lips. Most of it spilled, but some went down. She swallowed by reflex. I did the same for the younger one.
She took more, swallowed twice, a good sign. Hours passed. I added wood to the fire, checked their breathing, watched for color to return to their skin.
Slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice. The gray-blue faded, became brown again. Their lips went from purple to a dark pink. The younger one's fingers twitched and curled.
Then relaxed. Around midnight, the older one opened her eyes. She looked around the cabin, at the fire, at her sister, at me. No fear in her face, no panic.
Just observation, taking in where she was, what had happened, who I was. She tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. I brought her water. She drank slow.
Small sips, careful. When she finished, she looked at me again. This time her eyes held a question. I said, "You're safe. Storm caught you. I brought you here." She understood English. I could tell by the way her expression shifted, not surprised. Just acknowledging. She asked, "My sister? Alive. Sleeping." She nodded once. Then she studied me for a long moment.
Her gaze moved from my face to my hands to the cabin around us. She was reading me, trying to understand what kind of man pulls two strangers from the snow.
Finally, she asked, "Why? Why what? Why you save us?" I didn't answer right away. The truth was complicated. I saved them because leaving them would have haunted me forever.
Because 7 years ago I made a choice that I've regretted every single day since. Because sometimes you get a second chance to do the right thing and you'd be a fool not to take it. But I didn't say any of that. I just said, because I didn't want you to die. She tilted her head slightly.
Like she was looking past my words into what I wasn't saying. She said, "You lie." I felt something twist in my chest. "What? You save us, but not because of us."
Because you're trying to save someone else, someone already dead. The room went very quiet, just the crackle of the fire, just the sound of wind against the walls.
I stood up, walked to the door, put my hand on the wood but didn't open it. How did she know? How could a stranger see through me that easily? I stepped outside. The cold hit me like a fist. I stood there in the snow, breathing hard. My breath came out in clouds. Above me, the sky had cleared. Stars scattered across black, thousands of them. The same stars that were out the night Margaret died. The same ones that watched me fail her. I stayed out there until my hands went numb.
Until the cold soaked through my coat, then I went back inside. The woman had closed her eyes again, asleep or pretending to be, I couldn't tell. I sat by the fire.
Stared at the flames, and I thought about how one decision, one moment of stopping instead of riding past, had just changed everything. Morning came with pale light filtering through the cabin's single window.
I woke to the sound of wood settling in the stove. I'd fallen asleep sitting against the wall. My back ached. My neck was stiff, but both women were still breathing.
That was all that mattered. The older one was awake. She sat up slightly, leaning against the wall, the quilt pulled around her shoulders.
She watched me with those dark eyes that seemed to see too much. I stood, stretched, walked to the stove and added more wood. I said, "How do you feel?"
Cold, but alive. Your sister? Still sleeping. She always sleep heavy. I nodded. Poured water from the kettle into 2 cups, brought one to her.
She took it with both hands, held it close to her face, let the steam warm her skin before drinking. "Thank you," she said. "You need food, real food, not just broth."
Yes, I went to the pantry, found eggs, bacon. Bread from 3 days ago, a little stale but still good. I cooked while she watched. The smell of bacon filled the cabin. Rich and warm. It had been months since I'd cooked a full breakfast. Usually I just ate whatever was fastest. Living alone makes you lazy about food. No point in cooking for one.
But today felt different. While the bacon sizzled, I asked, "What's your name?" "Island." "I'm Cole Thornton." "Thornton," she repeated, testing the sound of it. "You live here alone?"
"Yes, long time, 7 years." She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "The woman who died, she was your wife?" My hand stopped moving.
The fork I was using to turn the bacon hung in the air. How do you know that? The quilt, the way you touch it, like something precious.
Something you keep but cannot use. Only a wife makes a quilt like that. I set the fork down, turned to face her. Her name was Margaret. She died in a storm.
Like the one that nearly killed you. I am sorry. It was a long time ago. 7 years is not long, not for grief.
I didn't know what to say to that. She was right. 7 years felt like yesterday sometimes. Other times it felt like a lifetime. The younger sister woke around mid-morning.
She opened her eyes slowly, blinked at the ceiling, then turned her head and saw Aylin. Relief washed over her face. She tried to sit up but gasped. Her ankle.
The pain brought tears to her eyes. Aylin moved to her sister's side, spoke to her in their own language, soft words, comforting. The younger one nodded, looked at me.
Aylin said to me, "This is Kiona, my sister, my twins." That explained why they looked so similar. Same bone structure, same dark eyes, same long black hair.
But now that I looked closer, I could see differences. Kiona was slightly smaller, her face rounder. Her eyes held something softer than Aylin's sharp gaze. I brought them both plates of food.
They ate slowly, like they hadn't had a real meal in days, maybe weeks. I didn't ask questions, not yet. They needed to recover first. Questions could wait. After breakfast, I checked Kiona's ankle.
She flinched when I touched it, but didn't cry out. Tough. Both of them were tough. Had to be to survive whatever put them in that snow. Sprained, I said. Maybe broken. Hard to tell without a doctor, but I can wrap it, keep it still, should heal in time. Kiona nodded. Aylin translated something I didn't catch. Kiona responded.
They went back and forth for a minute. Then Aylin turned to me. She says thank you. She says we owe you our lives. You don't owe me anything.
In our culture, a life debt is sacred. You saved us. That means something. It means I'm human, that's all. Aylin studied me again with that penetrating look.
Like she could see all the way down to the bottom of my soul, she said, "You are a good man, Cole Thornton, even if you do not believe it yourself."
I didn't respond, just gathered the dishes and washed them in the basin. Behind me I heard the sisters talking quietly. Their language sounded like music, all flowing vowels and soft consonants.
Nothing like the harsh English I was used to. Around midday there was a knock at the door. I tensed. Visitors were rare out here. I kept a rifle near the door.
Reached for it, then opened up. Ezra Finch stood on my porch. He's 62 years old, with white hair and a thick beard. Lives about 5 miles south.
Closest thing I have to a neighbor. He held a cloth-wrapped bundle. Saw smoke from your place, Cole. Thought you might need some smoked venison. He held out the bundle.
I took it. Thanks, Ezra. His eyes shifted past me, saw Aylin and Kiona inside. His expression didn't change, didn't show surprise or judgment, just acknowledgement. You got company.
Found them yesterday, in the snow, nearly frozen. Apache? Yes, he nodded slowly. Ezra fought in the Indian Wars 20 years back, lost friends, saw terrible things.
But he didn't carry hate the way some men do. He learned to let go. You need help with anything, you let me know. I will. He started to leave.
Then stopped, turned back. Cole, it's good you're not alone anymore. He walked away before I could respond. I watched him disappear into the trees. Dutch whinnied from the small barn.
I'd need to feed him soon and check the fence again. The work never stops on a ranch, even when your life suddenly gets complicated. I went back inside.
The sisters were sitting together near the fire. Kiona had her head on Aylin's shoulder. They looked peaceful, safe. For the first time I wondered how long they'd been running.
How long since they felt safe? That evening I cooked the venison Ezra brought. Made a stew with potatoes and carrots from the root cellar. The three of us ate together at the small table. It felt strange having people in my space. Strange, but not bad. The cabin had been silent for so long.
Now it had voices, movement, life. After dinner, Kiona spoke, for the first time directly to me. Her English was better than I expected, clearer than Aylin's. You live here alone?
Always? 7 years. Since my wife passed. No children? No, we wanted them, but it never happened. She nodded, touched the quilt that was still draped over her shoulders.
She made it this? Yes. First winter we were married. Took her 4 months. Kiona ran her fingers over the stitching. Gentle, reverent. She had skill and patience. She did.
What was her name? Margaret. That is a good name. We sat in silence for a while. The fire crackled. Wind pushed against the walls, but inside it was warm. Inside it felt almost like home used to feel. Then Kiona said something that made my blood stop. She died in snow, like we almost did. I looked at her sharply.
How do you know that? Because you look at us the way my father looked at my mother after she was gone. Like you are trying to fix something that cannot be fixed.
The room felt too small suddenly.
Too close. I stood up, walked to the door, put my hand on the latch. Island said, "Cole." I didn't turn around. She continued, "My sister does not mean to hurt you. She sees things, always has, sees into people's hearts. Maybe I don't want my heart seen. Maybe.
But maybe you need someone to see it, before it freezes like the snow outside." I stood there with my hand on the door. Part of me wanted to walk out, to escape this conversation, to escape the truth they were pulling out of me. But another part, a part I'd buried 7 years ago, wanted to stay, wanted to be seen. Wanted to stop being invisible. I turned back around, looked at both of them. Margaret went out during a storm. To check on the horses, I told her I'd go.
But we'd argued about something stupid, something I can't even remember now. I was angry, proud, so I let her go alone. My voice cracked, but I kept going.
10 minutes later, I went out to find her. She'd slipped on ice, hit her head on a rock, was lying in the snow unconscious. I carried her back inside.
Did everything I could, but she never woke up. She died in my arms 3 hours later. Tears ran down my face. I didn't wipe them away. If I hadn't been proud.
If I hadn't let my anger matter more than her safety, she'd still be alive. So yes, when I saw you two in the snow, I saw her.
And I saw a chance to not be 10 minutes too late. The silence that followed felt heavy, full of weight and meaning. Then Kiona stood up, limped over to me.
Her injured ankle made her movements awkward but determined. She reached up and placed her hand on my chest, right over my heart. "You did not kill your wife. The ice killed her."
The storm killed her. Bad luck killed her. But not you. I should have gone with her, maybe. But she chose to go. You did not make her.
Cole Thornton, you cannot carry the weight of every choice another person makes, even someone you love. Island added, "We have all lost people, my father, my mother, friends from our band. We carry them, but we do not let them make us dead too." I looked at these two women, strangers 3 days ago.
Now saying things no one had said to me in 7 years, things I needed to hear but didn't know how to ask for. Kiona removed her hand from my chest.
You saved us, not to save your wife, but to save yourself. To prove to yourself you are not the man who arrives too late, and you proved it.
We are alive because of you. That is truth. That is real. I nodded slowly, wiped my eyes, took a deep breath. Thank you. No, thank you for stopping. For choosing to see us. For choosing to care. That night after they'd gone to sleep, I sat by the fire alone.
I pulled out the small wooden box I keep in my pocket. Inside is Margaret's wedding ring. I've carried it every day for 7 years, worn it on my own finger sometimes. Held it when the loneliness got too heavy, but tonight it felt different, lighter somehow. Not because I loved her less.
But because I was finally starting to understand that loving her didn't mean dying with her, I put the ring back in the box, put the box back in my pocket.
And for the first time in 7 years, I went to sleep without guilt eating at my insides. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee. I opened my eyes.
Aylin was at the stove. She'd figured out where I keep the grounds, how to work the pot. She moved around the small kitchen like she belonged there.
When she saw me awake, she said, "I hope this is okay. We cannot just sit. We must help. You should rest. You're still recovering. We are Apache."
We recover by doing, not by sitting. Kiona was awake too. She sat at the table cutting vegetables for breakfast. Her ankle was propped up on another chair, but her hands worked steadily.
They were making themselves useful, making themselves part of this place, and I realized something that both scared and comforted me. I didn't want them to leave.
Over the next few days, we fell into a routine. I'd go out in the morning to check the animals and the fence line. Aylin would come with me. She learned fast.
How to split wood, how to feed the horses, how to read weather in the sky. Kiona stayed inside, cooked, cleaned, mended clothes. Her ankle was healing but still too weak for heavy work.
Every evening we'd eat together, talk. Sometimes they'd tell stories about their people, their traditions. Sometimes I'd tell stories about Wyoming, about the early days of ranching, about Margaret.
It got easier to talk about her, like saying her name out loud was slowly releasing the grip she had on my heart. One evening, as we sat by the fire, Aylin said, "We should tell you why we were in the snow, why we almost died. I'd been waiting for this."
Wondering but not pushing. If they wanted to tell me, they would, and now they were ready, Kiona began. Our band was traveling south, away from soldiers, away from settlers. Just trying to find peace, 40 people, mostly women and children, only 8 men. Island continued, raiders came at dawn, 7 white men they did not want to kill.
They wanted to take women, take us. My jaw tightened. Kiona's voice shook slightly. They took 12 women. Our father told us to run. He stayed to fight.
We heard gunshots, many gunshots, then silence. We ran for 3 days, Aylin said. No food, little water. The storm came on the 4th day.
We thought dying in snow was better than dying in their hands. I felt anger rise in my chest, hot and sharp. These raiders, did you see their leader?
Both sisters went very still. Finally, Aylin said, "Yes, his face was burned, half of it. Like fire had melted the skin. My breath caught. I knew that description."
Everyone in this territory knew it. Dalton Creed. Aylin nodded. You know him? Of him. He used to track for the army 15 years ago.
Got caught in a fire during a raid on a Cheyenne camp, lost half his face. After that, he went rogue, became a raider himself. Some say he's the most dangerous man in Wyoming.
Kiona asked quietly, why he want us? I hesitated, then decided they deserved the truth. 2 years ago, a man was killed on Apache land, stabbed. He was Creed's younger brother.
Creed swore revenge, said he'd find the ones responsible and make them pay. The sisters looked at each other. Something passed between them, a silent conversation only twins can have.
Then Kiona said, we know, we were there. My heart sank. What happened? Aylin's voice went flat, emotionless. Creed's brother came to our camp drunk. He tried to force himself on Kiona.
She was 15. I fought him, stabbed him. He died. It was self-defense. Yes, but Creed does not care. He only cares that we killed his blood.
So he hunts us. Will always hunt us. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the dark plains. Somewhere out there, Dalton Creed was still looking.
Still hunting, and now these two women were in my cabin, under my protection. Whether I wanted that responsibility or not, I turned back to them. He won't find you here.
How you know? Because this land is remote, because I know how to hide tracks, and because if he comes, I'll be ready. Aylin shook her head. This is not your fight. You're under my roof. That makes it my fight. Kiona limped over to me, looked up into my face. Why you do this?
Why you risk yourself for us? I thought about it, really thought. Then I gave her the only honest answer I had.
Because 7 years ago I stood and did nothing while someone I loved died. I won't make that mistake again. She smiled, small but real. You are a good man, Cole Thornton.
I'm just a man trying to get it right this time. That night I couldn't sleep. I went outside. Stood in the snow under the stars. The air was so cold it hurt to breathe, but it felt clean. Pure. I heard the door open behind me. Kiona limped out. She wore the quilt wrapped around her shoulders.
Stood beside me without speaking. Finally she said, you afraid? Of Creed? No. Of us. Of caring again. I didn't answer right away, because she was right.
I was terrified. Terrified that if I let myself care, I'd lose them too. Terrified that caring meant pain, meant vulnerability, meant all the things I'd locked away 7 years ago.
Yes, I admitted. I'm afraid. That is okay. Fear means you still alive, still feeling. That is good. Doesn't feel good. She laughed softly. No.
But it is better than being frozen inside. We stood there together in the cold. Two people who'd survived different kinds of storms. Two people learning to thaw. And I realized something.
This cabin, this life, it wasn't mine anymore. Not just mine. Somewhere in the last few days it had become ours. And that change, terrifying as it was, felt right.
It felt like the first warm day after a long winter, when you can finally believe spring is coming, when you can finally believe in something new.
3 days passed like water flowing over stone, smooth, natural. Each morning I woke to the smell of coffee already brewing, to the sound of Aylin moving wood. To Kiona humming songs in her language while she prepared breakfast. The cabin had transformed from a tomb of memories into something alive. Aylin grew stronger each day. Her movements became sure and confident.
She'd watch me do something once, then do it herself the next time. Splitting wood, checking fence posts, reading the sky for coming weather. She learned without asking questions, just observed and absorbed. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at the horizon with an expression I couldn't read. Distant, haunted, like she was looking at something only she could see. Kiona's ankle healed slower.
She still limped, still winced when she put too much weight on it, but she refused to stay idle. She'd sit at the table mending my shirts, patching holes I'd ignored for months.
Making food that tasted better than anything I'd cooked in 7 years. And she'd watch me with those dark eyes that saw too much, that understood too much.
On the 4th morning, I found Aylin sitting alone on the porch. Dawn hadn't fully broken yet. The sky held that gray-blue color that comes just before sunrise.
She sat with her back against the cabin wall, knees drawn up, staring out at nothing. I stepped outside. The cold bit at my face. I sat down a few feet away from her.
Far enough to give her space, close enough to talk if she wanted to. For a long time, neither of us spoke, just sat in the silence.
Then, without looking at me, she said something that changed everything. I killed someone before. I turned my head toward her, but she kept staring straight ahead. Not Creed's brother, she continued.
Someone else, someone from my tribe. I waited, didn't push, let her tell it at her own pace. His name was Dakota. He was strong, good hunter. Everyone respected him.
And I loved him. Her voice went flat, empty of emotion. We were promised to each other, going to marry after the winter, but Dakota had demons, anger. When he drank, it got worse. One night, he came to our tent very drunk, found Kiona alone, tried to force himself on her. Aylin's hands clenched into fists.
I came back, heard her crying, saw him holding her down. I grabbed a knife, told him to stop. He laughed, said she belonged to him now.
That when we married, she would be his too. His to use however he wanted. She paused, took a breath. I stabbed him in the side, did not mean to kill.
Just wanted him off my sister, but the blade went deep. He fell, bled out in minutes, and all I could think was good. Good that he was dead.
Good that he would never touch her again. Tears ran down her face, but her voice stayed steady. The tribe called it accident, said he was drunk and fell on the knife.
But I knew the truth. I chose to kill him, chose to push that blade in deep, and now I carry that. Carry the knowledge that I am capable of taking a life.
That maybe I wanted to, maybe some part of me enjoyed it. She finally looked at me. So when I say I understand about your wife, about carrying guilt, I mean it. I know what it is to blame yourself, to wonder if you are cursed, if everyone you get close to will suffer because of you. I thought about my response carefully.
Words mattered here. The wrong ones could push her further into that darkness she carried. You protected your sister, I said. That's not murder, that's survival. I could have stopped sooner.
Could have just wounded him, but I did not. I made sure he died, because you knew if he lived he'd come back. He'd hurt her again. Hurt you.
You did what you had to do. She shook her head. You do not understand. After he died, I felt relief, happiness even.
What kind of person feels happy about killing someone they loved? The kind who finally escaped something terrible. Aylin, love doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean letting someone destroy you, or the people you care about. What you felt wasn't wrong. It was human. She looked at me for a long moment.
Then said, you say that, but you still blame yourself for your wife, for not being there. How is that different? The question hit like a fist. She was right.
I was telling her to forgive herself while I held onto my own guilt with both hands. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe we're both wrong.
Maybe we're both carrying weight that isn't ours to carry. Or maybe, she said quietly, we are exactly the people we think we are. Broken, damaged.
And no amount of good deeds will fix that. I don't believe that. Why not? Because if that was true, you wouldn't have saved Kiona.
You wouldn't have run for 3 days through snow to keep her safe. Broken people don't do that. They give up. They let the darkness win. But you didn't. You fought. You survived. That means something. Aylin was quiet for a long time. Then she leaned her head back against the wall and closed her eyes. I am tired of fighting, Cole.
Tired of running. Tired of being afraid that everyone I care about will suffer because of me. Sometimes I think it would be easier to just walk into the snow. Let it take me.
Let Kiona have a chance at a life without my curse following her. Don't say that. Why? It is true. Because your sister needs you. Because giving up is not the same as protecting her, and because I need you too. She opened her eyes, looked at me with surprise. What? You heard me. These past few days, having you and Kiona here, has reminded me what it feels like to be alive. Not just surviving, actually living. You leave now, and this place goes back to being a grave, and I don't want that anymore. Something shifted in her expression, softened. You barely know us. I know enough. I know you're strong. I know you love your sister enough to kill for her. I know you make terrible coffee, but you're too proud to admit it. She smiled despite herself. My coffee is not terrible. It's awful. Tastes like boiled dirt. You are rude. I'm honest. There's a difference. The smile stayed on her face, small but real. The first genuine smile I'd seen from her. Thank you, she said. For what? For seeing me. Not the thing I did, not the guilt. Just me. Same to you.
We sat together as the sun finally broke over the horizon, orange and gold spreading across white snow. Beautiful.
The kind of beauty that makes you believe maybe the world isn't as dark as it sometimes feels. That evening, the three of us sat around the table for dinner.
Venison stew that Kiona had made. Better than mine. Everything she cooked was better than mine. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Kiona set down her spoon.
We need to tell you everything, she said, about the raiders, about Creed, about why we were really in that snow. I put down my own spoon, you don't have to. Yes, we do. You deserve to know what you are protecting, what danger you have brought into your home. Aelin nodded. She is right, you need to know the whole truth.
Kiona began. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the pain underneath. Our band was moving south toward the territories. 43 people. My father was chief.
Not by birth, but by respect. People followed him because he was wise, fair, strong. My mother died when we were young. Father raised us alone, taught us everything. How to hunt.
How to fight, how to survive, she paused. Gathered herself. For 2 years we ran from different threats. Soldiers who wanted to move us to reservations. Settlers who wanted our land.
Other tribes who saw us as weak because we had so few warriors. We were tired, so tired of running. Father kept saying we just needed to reach the southern territories.
Then we could rest, build a real home, stop looking over our shoulders. Island took over. 3 weeks ago we made camp near a river. Good water, good hunting.
Father said we would stay for a few days. Let the elders rest. Let the children play without fear. It felt safe. We thought we were far enough from everything that no one would bother us. Her jaw tightened. We were wrong. They came at dawn. 7 men on horses, white men. Armed with rifles and pistols, their leader had a burned face, half of it melted like candle wax. He rode into the center of our camp and demanded we give him our women. Said he was taking them south to sell, that if we cooperated, no one would get hurt. Kiona's voice shook. My father refused, told the warriors to protect the women and children. There were only 8 warriors, against 7 armed men. The fight did not last long. They killed 4 of our men in the first minute, Island said, including my father.
Shot him 3 times, he fell but kept trying to stand, kept telling us to run. The last thing he said was run and do not look back. Tears streamed down both their faces now, Kiona continued. We ran, 12 women, the raiders chased us, caught 10 of them. We heard screaming, heard them begging. But we kept running like Father said. Aelin and I stayed together. We ran for 3 days straight, barely stopped, barely ate, just ran. On the 4th day the storm came, Aelin said. We thought we had lost them, thought we were far enough away, but then we saw tracks, fresh tracks. They were still following, still hunting. We tried to keep moving, but the storm got worse. Kiona's ankle gave out. I carried her for a mile, but I was too weak, too cold. We collapsed by those trees.
Thought it was the end. Kiona looked at me with gratitude and pain mixed together. Then you found us. You gave us life when we had already accepted death.
But Cole, you need to understand. Creed is not just hunting us because of his brother. He is hunting us because we are the ones who got away.
And he does not allow anyone to escape him, ever. I leaned back in my chair, processed everything they'd told me. The horror of it, the cruelty. These 2 young women had watched their father die, had listened to their friends being taken, had run until they couldn't run anymore, and still the danger followed them.
How do you know he's still looking? I asked. Aelin answered. Because he told us. When his brother died 2 years ago, Creed came to our camp.
Stood in front of the whole tribe. Said he knew we were the ones who killed his blood. Said he would hunt us for the rest of our lives if he had to. That we would never know peace, never know safety. That everywhere we went he would find us, and when he did, he would make us suffer the way his brother suffered.
He's insane, I said. Yes, but he is also smart, patient. He tracked us for 2 years, always stayed just far enough back that we could not confirm it was him.
But we knew, we always knew, and now he has found us again. It is only a matter of time before he finds this place too.
Kiona reached across the table and took my hand. That is why we will leave soon as my ankle heals. We cannot bring this danger to you.
You have already done too much, given too much. I looked at both of them, these 2 women who had survived so much, who carried so much pain.
Who still had the strength to think about my safety above their own. No, I said. Aelin frowned. What do you mean no? I mean you're not leaving, not until this is finished.
Cole, you do not understand. Creed will come, and when he does, people die. We have seen it. We will not let that happen to you.
Then we'll be ready when he comes. You cannot fight him. He has men, resources, experience. So do I, and I have something he doesn't. What?
A reason to fight that's bigger than revenge. I'm fighting to protect people I care about. He's fighting because he can't let go of hate. That makes all the difference.
Kiona squeezed my hand. You would risk your life for us, 2 strangers you found in the snow? You're not strangers anymore. And yes, I would.
Because letting you walk out that door knowing what's hunting you would make me the same coward I was 7 years ago. And I'm done being that person. The room went quiet except for the fire crackling in the stove. Then Island said something in her language to Kiona. Kiona responded. They went back and forth for a minute.
Finally, Aelin turned to me. We accept, we will stay, we will fight, but you must promise something. What? If it comes to a choice between saving us or saving yourself, you will choose yourself. Our father already died protecting us.
We will not let another good man die for the same reason. I can't promise that. You must. I won't, because that's not how this works. We protect each other.
All of us, or none of this means anything. Aelin stared at me, then slowly she nodded. You are stubborn, man, Cole Thornton, so I've been told.
The next morning, I woke to find fresh snow had fallen during the night, about 6 inches. The world outside looked clean and untouched, beautiful, but all I could think about was tracks.
How easy it would be to follow our movements, how visible we'd become. I went outside early to check the perimeter, looked for any sign that someone had passed through during the night. Found nothing, just rabbit tracks and deer, but the anxiety stayed with me, a tightness in my chest that wouldn't ease. Aelin found me by the barn an hour later.
She'd brought coffee, the terrible coffee she insisted on making every morning. I drank it anyway because the gesture mattered more than the taste. You are worried, she said. It wasn't a question.
The snow makes us easy to track, then we prepare, make this place defensible, set traps, make it so if they come they regret it. I looked at her. At the determination in her face, this woman who'd been half frozen 5 days ago was now ready to fight. You know how to set traps? My father taught us.
Kiona is better at it than me, but I know enough. Show me what materials you have and I will show you what I can do. We'd spent the morning gathering supplies.
Wire from old fence, boards from the shed, rope, nails, basic materials that could become deadly in the right hands. Aelin sketched designs the snow, showed me placement strategies.
Explained how Apache hunters created traps that could take down a bear or a man. We placed them here, she pointed to a narrow path between 2 large rocks. Anyone approaching from the north will naturally funnel through there. They will not expect resistance, so they will not be careful. What kind of trap? Simple. Wire at ankle height. Hard to see in snow. When they trip, it pulls a branch down. The branch has sharpened stakes, hits them in the chest or face. That'll kill them.
She looked at me without flinching. Yes, that is the point. These men are not coming to talk. They are coming to take or kill. We must be willing to do the same.
She was right. I knew she was right. But saying it out loud made it real in a way I wasn't ready for. I've never killed a man, I admitted.
You were in the war, yes? The Civil War? I was. But I was a supply runner. Never saw direct combat. Never had to shoot at another person.
Island put her hand on my shoulder. Then I hope you do not have to start now, but if it comes to it, you must not hesitate.
Men like Creed see hesitation as weakness. They use it. If you are going to fight, you must commit fully. No half measures. I understand. Do you?
Because when the moment comes, there is no time to think, no time to question. You either act or you die. And if you die, then Kiona and I die too.
Can you live with that? I met her eyes, saw the hardness there, the experience. This woman had killed before, had made the choice to prioritize survival over morality.
And she was asking if I could do the same. Yes, I said. If it means keeping you both alive, then yes, I can do what needs to be done. She nodded. Good. Then we work. We spent the next 2 days transforming the area around the cabin into a maze of hidden dangers, tripwires along the most obvious approach paths.
A pit covered with branches and snow on the eastern side. Bells attached to trees on the southern perimeter so we'd hear anyone coming.
False trails that led away from the cabin toward dead ends. Kiona helped from inside. She sharpened stakes, prepared medical supplies in case one of us got injured.
Made extra food that could be stored without spoiling. She moved around the cabin with purpose despite her limp, contributing in every way she could. On the 3rd day, Ezra returned.
He rode up slowly, carefully, like he could sense something had changed. When he dismounted, he looked around at the modifications we'd made, the subtle changes to the landscape. He was old, but he wasn't stupid. He knew defensive preparations when he saw them. Expecting trouble, he asked. I nodded. Could be coming, could already be here. What kind of trouble? I told him about Creed, about the raiders, about what the sisters had survived. Ezra listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment.
Then he walked back to his horse and pulled out a rifle from his saddle. This is for you, he said, handing it to me. Winchester holds 15 rounds. Better than that old Spencer you've got. Ezra, I can't take this. You're not taking it. I'm giving it, and before you argue, I've got 3 more at home.
This one's been sitting unused for 5 years. About time it served a purpose again. He pulled out a box of ammunition, set it on the porch.
I'll check in every day, he said. If I see riders heading this direction, I'll fire 3 shots. That's your warning. Bar the doors and get ready. You don't have to do this.
This isn't your fight, Ezra smiled, sad but determined. Cole, I'm 62 years old. My wife's been gone 5 years. I've got no children, no family. I've lived a long, quiet life.
If it ends helping good people against bad men, then that's a better end than most get. So don't tell me this isn't my fight. I'm making it my fight.
He mounted his horse, started to ride away, then stopped and turned back. You know what your problem is, Cole? You think you're alone in this world.
Think you have to carry everything by yourself, but that's not true. Never has been. People want to help, want to be part of something that matters. You just have to let them.
He rode off before I could respond. I stood there holding the Winchester, feeling the weight of it, the weight of responsibility, the weight of friendship I'd forgotten how to accept.
That night, Kiona found me sitting outside. I'd taken to spending time on the porch after dark. Something about the cold and the stars helped me think. She limped out and sat beside me.
Her ankle was much better. She barely winced anymore. Ezra is a good man, she said. He is. Like you. I'm not that good. She laughed softly. Still you say this.
After everything, you save us. You prepare to fight for us. You accept help from your friend. But still you think you are not good man. Why? I didn't answer right away. Tried to find the right words. Because good men don't let their wives die. Good men don't spend 7 years hiding from the world. Good men don't need strangers to remind them how to be human. Kiona was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Can I tell you about my father?" "Of course." He was strongest man I ever knew. Not in body, though he was strong there too. But in spirit, in heart. He led our people through terrible times. Made hard choices.
Watched friends die, watched our way of life disappear, but he never gave up, never stopped trying to protect us. She paused, but he also blamed himself for everything.
For every person we lost, for every bad thing that happened, he carried all that guilt like stones in a bag, made him tired, made him sad.
Near the end, before the raiders came, I asked him why he would not let go of that weight. You know what he said? What? He said, because if I put it down, someone else will have to pick it up. Better I carry it than burden others with it. And I told him that was stupid. That carrying weight alone does not make you strong. It makes you alone, and alone you will eventually fall. She looked at me. You are like my father Cole.
You think suffering alone is noble, that protecting others means isolating yourself. But that is not strength. That is fear. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of failing again.
So you push everyone away and call it sacrifice. That's not what I'm doing. Yes, it is. You let us stay, but you do not let us in. Not really.
You help, but you do not accept help. You care, but you do not let yourself be cared for. You are still frozen coal. Still standing in that snow 7 years ago.
And until you let yourself thaw, you will never be truly alive. Her words cut deep because they were true. Every word. I had been frozen. Had been standing in place for 7 years, calling it moving forward. I don't know how to thaw, I said quietly. Don't know how to let go. Yes, you do.
You already started. When you stop for us, when you let Ezra help, when you sit here with me instead of hiding inside, these are all small thaws, small springs coming through winter.
You just have to keep going, keep choosing to feel even when it hurts. I felt my throat tighten, felt tears building that I'd held back for years. I'm scared, I admitted.
Scared that if I let myself care, I'll lose you both. Lose Ezra. Lose everything again. And I don't know if I can survive that twice. Kiona took my hand.
Held it between both of hers. You cannot control whether you lose us. Death comes for everyone. But you can control whether you live before it does. Whether you choose fear or love.
Isolation or connection. And Cole, I have seen you choose, seen you pick love over fear again and again this past week. So I know you can do it.
No, you are stronger than you think. I looked at her. This young woman who'd survived so much, who'd lost her father, who'd run through snow expecting to die. And still she chose hope. Still she chose to believe in something better. How do you do it? I asked. How do you keep going after everything you've lost? She smiled, because giving up would mean they won. The raiders, the soldiers, the hate, all of it, and I will not give them that victory. I will live.
We'll love, we'll fight, We'll choose joy even in darkness. That is how I honor my father, by being alive in a way that matters. We sat in silence for a while.
Just holding hands, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. Then Kiona said something that I'd remember for the rest of my life. Tomorrow we may fight.
We may die, but tonight we are here, together, alive. That is enough. That is everything. And for the first time in 7 years, I believed her. Believed that maybe being alive, really alive, was enough, was everything. The next morning, I woke to Aylin shaking my shoulder. Her face was tight with tension. "Tracks," she said. "Fresh, 5 horses, maybe 6, coming from the north." I was on my feet instantly, grabbed the Winchester, checked that it was loaded. How far? 2 miles, maybe less.
They are moving slow, careful. They know we are here. Kiona appeared from the back room. She held a knife, a big one, kitchen knife that she'd sharpened to razor edge.
"What do we do?" she asked. I looked at both of them, at Aylin standing tall and ready, at Kiona balanced on her healing ankle but refusing to show fear. At these 2 women who'd come into my life by chance and changed everything. "We get ready," I said. "We use the traps, use the advantage of knowing this land."
And we show them that this place, this home, it's not for taking. Island nodded. Good, then let us prepare. And Cole, yeah? Thank you for choosing to stand with us.
For choosing to fight. It means more than you know. Same to you, both of you, for reminding me what's worth fighting for. We moved quickly after that.
Checked weapons, positioned ourselves at windows, waited. The cabin had become a fortress, a small one, but a fortress nonetheless. And as we waited for whatever was coming, I realized something.
For 7 years I'd been waiting to die, waiting for my life to end so I could be with Margaret again.
But now standing here with Island and Kiona, I wasn't waiting for death anymore. I was fighting for life, and that made all the difference. The waiting was worse than any battle could be.
We stood at our positions for 2 hours, Aylin by the north window with Ezra's old revolver, Kiona near the back door with her knife and a hatchet we'd sharpened yesterday. Me at the front window with the Winchester, each of us silent, each of us listening for the sound of horses or boots in snow. The sun climbed higher.
Pale winter light filtered through the windows. Everything outside looked peaceful, deceptive, like the world was holding its breath. Then I saw movement on the ridge, a figure on horseback.
Too far to make out details, but I knew. Somehow I knew it was them. "North Ridge," I said quietly. "One rider. Scouting, probably." Aylin moved to look, squinted against the bright snow.
Yes, he is watching, counting windows, looking for weakness. Let him look. He'll see a small cabin, 1 man maybe. He won't know we're ready.
The scout stayed on the ridge for 10 minutes, then turned and rode back the way he'd come, reporting what he'd seen, bringing information back to Creed. "How long until they come?"
Kiona asked. "Could be hours, could be minutes. Depends on how careful they want to be." Aylin checked her revolver again. 6 rounds. She'd practiced loading and unloading it 50 times yesterday until she could do it blind. "I think they come soon. They have been hunting for weeks. They are tired of waiting."
And Creed is not patient, man. She was right. About an hour later I heard it. The faint sound of horses, multiple horses moving together, coming from the north just like we'd expected.
"They're here," I said. We took our positions again, this time for real. No more practice, no more preparation. Just 3 people against 7 armed men, against Dalton Creed and his hatred.
The horses came into view, 7 riders like Kiona had said. They moved in a loose formation, confident. They'd done this before, raided cabins, taken what they wanted. They expected no resistance.
They were wrong. The lead rider was massive, bigger than the others. He wore a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face, but even from a distance I could see the scars.
The melted flesh on the right side of his face, Dalton Creed. They approached slowly, spread out to surround the cabin, smart tactics, making it so we couldn't watch all of them at once.
Couldn't predict where the attack would come from, but we'd prepared for that too. The traps didn't care about tactics. The first man reached the eastern side. His horse stepped carefully through the snow.
Then the animal's hoof hit the tripwire. The branch we'd rigged snapped forward. The sharpened stakes at the end drove into the rider's chest. He screamed a terrible sound, fell backwards off his horse.
The horse bolted. The man lay in the snow bleeding. Not dead yet, but dying. The other riders pulled up short. Confusion rippled through their formation. They'd expected easy prey.
"Not traps, not resistance," Creed shouted orders. His voice was rough, damaged by the same fire that had melted his face. The riders spread out more, became more careful.
But that just meant they moved into range of the other traps. A second man on the western side triggered the pit. His horse fell through the snow-covered branches.
Both horse and rider crashed into the hole we dug, 6 feet deep with stakes at the bottom. The horse screamed, a horrible sound. The man didn't make any sound at all. 5 left. Creed stopped moving. Assessed the situation. He was smart enough to know they'd walked into something prepared, something dangerous, but he was also too proud to retreat.
I could see it in the way he sat on his horse, in the set of his shoulders. He shouted toward the cabin, "I know you're in there, Island! Kiona! Come out now, and maybe I let the man who helped you live." Island tensed beside me. Kiona gripped her knife tighter. Neither of them moved. I called back through the closed door. "They're under my protection. You want them, you'll have to come through me." Creed laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "You think you can stop me?"
You think some traps and a Winchester make you dangerous? I've killed better men than you for less. Then come find out." The remaining riders looked at each other. At Creed, waiting for orders. They were hired guns, mercenaries. They'd signed up for easy money. Not a real fight. I could see doubt creeping into their postures. Creed must have seen it too, because he drew his pistol and fired 3 shots into the air. "Anyone who retreats, I shoot myself. We finish this now." He spurred his horse forward.
Charged directly at the cabin. The other 4 followed. They came from all sides at once, trying to overwhelm us with simultaneous attacks. I aimed the Winchester at the closest rider.
Squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked against my shoulder. The round hit the man in the chest. He toppled from his horse. I worked the lever action, fired again, missed.
Fired a 3rd time, hit another rider in the shoulder. He dropped his pistol, clutched his wound, turned his horse and fled. 3 left plus Creed. A rider reached the southern wall. Island's window. He aimed his rifle at the glass. But before he could fire, Island shot first. The revolver was loud in the confined space. Her shot hit him in the face. He fell backwards, dead before he hit the ground. 2 left plus Creed. The final 2 riders tried to reach the doors, one at the front, one at the back.
But we'd prepared for that too. The doors were barred with thick beams, reinforced. They'd need axes or a battering ram to break through, and we wouldn't give them that time.
I shot the man at the front door, hit him in the leg. He screamed, fell, started dragging himself away through the snow. I let him go. He wasn't a threat anymore.
The man at the back door found Kiona waiting. She'd opened a small gun port we'd cut yesterday, just big enough to see through, to shoot through. She threw her knife.
It was a desperate throw. Wild, but it caught the rider in the throat. Pure luck, or maybe fate. He grabbed at the blade, gurgled, fell from his horse. That left only Creed.
He sat on his horse in the middle of our killing ground, surrounded by dead or dying men, his raiders, his crew, all gone in less than 5 minutes. He looked at each body.
Then at the cabin, and I saw something in his expression change. Not fear, not exactly, but recognition. He'd underestimated us. Underestimated what people fight like when they're protecting something that matters.
He dismounted, dropped his rifle in the snow, walked forward with just his pistol drawn. Stopped about 20 feet from the front door. "Come out," he shouted. "Come out and face me."
Let's end this. I looked at Aelin, at Kiona. Stay inside. This isn't your fight anymore. Cole, no, Aelin said. He is too dangerous, which is why I'm going out there.
You two have fought enough, lost enough. This is mine to finish. Before either could argue, I unbarred the door. Stepped outside, closed it behind me. The cold hit me immediately.
Sharp and clean, I held the Winchester at my side. Not aimed, but ready. Creed looked at me, his ruined face twisted into something that might have been a smile.
Up close, the damage was worse than I'd imagined. The entire right side of his face was scar tissue. Melted, distorted, his right eye was milky white, blind, only his left eye worked. But that eye burned with intelligence and rage. "So you're the fool who saved them," he said. "I'm the man who stopped. That's all. You know what they did?"
What they are. I know they defended themselves against your brother. I know he tried to rape a 15-year-old girl. I know they had every right to fight back." Creed's face darkened. "My brother was drunk, stupid, but he didn't deserve to die. Maybe not, but he made his choice. They made theirs, and now you're making yours. Question is whether you're smart enough to walk away. Walk away?" He laughed that grinding laugh again. "I've hunted them for 2 years, crossed 3 territories, lost men."
Lost money, lost everything chasing them, and you think I'll just walk away? Yes, because this is the moment you decide what matters more, revenge or living, hate or healing.
You can keep going down this path and die in this snow, or you can let it go and have a chance at something better. Better? He spat in the snow.
There is no better, not after what they took from me. They didn't take anything. Your brother took from himself, made choices that led to his death.
But you're too stubborn to see that, too proud to admit he was wrong. Creed raised his pistol, aimed it at my chest. His hand was steady, no shake.
No hesitations. Last chance. Bring them out or I kill you and burn this place down with them inside. I didn't move. Didn't raise the Winchester. Just stood there.
Then shoot, because I'm not giving them to you, and I'm not moving. We stood like that for 10 seconds, maybe 20, time stretched. The world narrowed to just us.
2 men standing in snow. 2 men with different reasons for being there. 2 men who'd each lost something they couldn't get back. Then a voice cut through the tension.
Stop. We both turned. A figure emerged from the tree line to the east. An older man, native, long gray hair, weathered face. He walked slowly through the snow.
Carried a rifle but held it pointing down. Not threatening, just present. Aylin gasped behind me. I heard her voice crack. Father? The old man stopped halfway between the trees and the cabin.
Looked at the bodies, at Creed, at me, then at his daughters watching from the windows. My daughters, he said in English. His voice was deep, rough. You are alive.
Kiona burst through the back door, ran limping through the snow, threw herself into his arms. Aylin came more slowly, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing.
Like she thought he might disappear if she moved too fast. The old man hugged them both, held them tight. I saw tears on his weathered face.
Saw relief and joy and pain all mixed together. Creed watched this reunion with his pistol still aimed at me, but his attention was divided now.
Split between me and this new element he hadn't expected. The old man released his daughters, stepped toward Creed, stopped about 10 feet away. You are Dalton Creed, he said. Not a question, a statement. I am. You have hunted my daughters for 2 years. They killed my brother. Your brother tried to rape my child, my 15-year-old daughter.
She defended herself. Her sister protected her. That is what family does. Creed's eye narrowed. Doesn't change that he's dead. No, it does not. Death is permanent. Final.
I know this well. I have lost many people I loved, my wife, my friends, my tribe, and soon I will lose my life too. He opened his coat. Showed a wound in his side, bandaged but seeping blood. Old blood and new. The raiders shot me 3 times. I should have died that day, but I did not. I lived long enough to track my daughters, to find them one more time, to see them safe. He looked at Aylin and Kiona. You two are the last of our line.
The last of our family. When I die, our bloodline ends. Our stories end. Everything we were becomes memory. Then less than memory. Nothing. His voice cracked. So I ask you, Dalton Creed.
Is that what you want? To erase us completely? To make it so we never existed? Will that bring your brother back? Will it heal your face? Will it make you whole?
Creed said nothing, but his pistol lowered slightly. Just an inch. But it was movement. The old man continued. I am a Hanu, chief of nothing now. Father of 2.
Dying man. But I am also human. I have made mistakes, failed people, let my pride matter more than wisdom, and I have paid for those mistakes with everything I had.
He stepped closer to Creed. You are not so different from me. You carry guilt. Blame yourself for your brother, for not raising him better.
For not stopping him from becoming the man he became, and so you punish my daughters for what you could not fix in him. Creed's hand shook now.
You don't know anything about me. I know everything about you, because I am you. I blamed myself for my wife's death for 10 years, carried that guilt like a stone. Let it make me hard. Let it make me cruel to people who loved me. My daughters suffered because I could not forgive myself, could not let go. Ahanu's is filled with tears.
And now I am dying, and all that guilt, all that blame, it means nothing. It changed nothing. It just stole years I could have spent loving them, being present, being alive. He looked at Kiona and Aylin. I wasted so much time being angry at the wrong things, at fate, at the world, at myself.
And now I have no time left to make it right. He turned back to Creed. You have time. You are young, strong. You can choose differently.
Can let go of this hate before it eats everything good in you, before it makes you into something your brother would not recognize. Creed's pistol dropped completely. He stared at Ahanu.
Then at the bodies around us, his men, his crew, all dead for what? For revenge that wouldn't heal anything, wouldn't bring anyone back, wouldn't make him whole. He was my brother, Creed said. His voice small now, lost. He was all I had, I know, and losing him hurt, but killing my daughters will not ease that pain. It will only add to it.
Add their ghosts to the ones you already carry. Creed stood there for a long moment, his burned face working through emotions I couldn't read. Then slowly, very slowly, he holstered his pistol.
I can't, he said, voice breaking. I can't do this anymore. Can't keep hunting. Can't keep hating. I'm so tired. Ahanu nodded. Then stop. Choose to stop.
Choose to live with your grief instead of spreading it. That is all any of us can do. Creed looked at Island and Kiona. I'm sorry for hunting you.
For making you run, for everything. Your father is right. My brother was wrong. I knew it even then. But I couldn't admit it. Couldn't face that I'd failed him.
Island stepped forward. We forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because carrying hate is too heavy. We are tired too, Kiona added. Go, find peace if you can.
We will not hunt you, will not seek revenge. This ends here if you let it. Creed nodded, turned toward his horse, mounted up, looked back one more time.
Thank you, he said, then rode away, disappeared into the trees, gone. The silence that followed felt profound, like the world had shifted into something new, something without the weight of all that hate.
Then Ahanu collapsed. Kiona screamed. She and Aelin caught their father before he hit the snow. I ran over, helped them carry him inside. We laid him on my bed.
The only real bed in the cabin. His wound was worse than I'd thought. 3 bullet holes in his side and chest. Infected, festering. He'd been walking around with this for weeks.
Should have died days ago. But he'd kept moving, kept tracking his daughters, kept going through sheer force of will. Now that will was spent. Aelin tore open his shirt.
Started trying to clean the wounds, but there was too much damage, too much infection. I could see it in her face. The knowledge that this was beyond fixing, beyond saving.
Ahanu reached up, touched her face. Stop, it is too late, we both know this. No, we can help you, we can. No, my daughter, my time is finished.
I made my peace with this when the bullets hit me. I only wanted to see you both one more time, to know you were safe, and now I have. Tears streamed down Aelin's face. We just found you. We thought you were dead. We cannot lose you again. You will never lose me. I am in you.
In your strength, in your courage, in the way you protect each other. That is all a father can ask for. Kiona held his hand. What do we do now?
Where do we go? Ahanu smiled, peaceful. Content, you stay here, with this good man who saved you, who fought for you, who chose you when he could have turned away.
He looked at me. Cole Thornton, you have given my daughter's life twice, once in the snow, once today when you stood against Creed. That makes you family. That makes you theirs and them yours. I did what anyone would do. No, you did what only a good man would do. And for that, I give you my greatest treasures. My daughters, protect them. Let them protect you. Build something together that honors all we have lost. I will. I promise. Good. He coughed.
Blood appeared at the corners of his mouth. Island, Kiona, listen to me. You are free now. Free to choose your own path, your own future. Do not let guilt or duty bind you.
Choose what makes you alive, what makes you whole. Choose love over fear, joy over pain, life over death. He coughed again, harder, and forgive me for all the ways I failed you.
For being angry when I should have been present, for letting grief make me distant. I loved you both more than breath, more than life. Never doubt that.
We know, Father, Aelin said. We have always known, then I can rest. He closed his eyes, breathed once more, twice, then went still, the cabin filled with the sound of Aelin and Kiona sobbing. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place beyond words. I stood back, gave them space to grieve, to say goodbye to the man who'd given them life, who'd taught them strength.
Who died knowing they were safe. We buried Ahanu that evening, behind the cabin where the ground was softest, where wildflowers would bloom in spring. Aelin and Kiona sang songs in their language.
Songs about warriors and fathers and the journey to the next world. I didn't understand the words, but I felt their meaning, felt the love and loss woven through every note.
When they finished, we stood in silence, just the 3 of us and the fresh grave and the setting sun painting the snow orange and gold. Finally, Kiona spoke. What happens now?
It was the question we'd all been thinking. The raiders were gone. Creed was gone. Ahanu was gone. The immediate danger had passed, but that left a bigger question.
What came next? Where did 3 damaged people go from here? Aelin said, we should leave. Let you return to your life. You have done enough for us. Given enough.
What if I don't want you to leave? They both looked at me. What? Kiona asked. I'm saying maybe you stay. Maybe we figure out what comes next together.
Maybe this cabin stops being mine and becomes ours. Cole, you do not have to do this, Aelin said. We do not expect. I know you don't expect anything.
That's not why I'm offering. I'm offering because these past 2 weeks have been the most alive I've felt in 7 years.
Because having you here has reminded me what it means to be human, to care about something beyond just surviving, and I don't want to go back to the way things were.
I looked at both of them. I'm not asking out of obligation or pity. I'm asking because I want to.
Because building something with you two feels right in a way nothing has felt right for a very long time. Kiona smiled through her tears. You want us to stay?
Yes, even though we bring danger, even though our past follows us, the danger is gone. Creed chose to let go. The other raiders are dead or scattered.
And even if more trouble comes, I'd rather face it with you than face emptiness alone. Island stepped closer. You are sure? This is not just grief talking, not just emotion from today?
I've never been more sure of anything. She looked at Kiona. That silent twin conversation passed between them. Then they both nodded. Then we stay, Aelin said. We build a life here.
Together, as family. The word hung in the air, family, not bound by blood but by choice, by shared struggle, by the decision to stand together when we could have walked apart.
Family, I repeated, testing how it felt. It felt good. It felt right. That night we sat around the fire, exhausted but peaceful. The kind of peace that comes after a storm has passed.
After the worst has happened and you're still standing, Ezra arrived just after dark. He'd heard the gunfire, had come to help but stayed back when he saw Ahanu arrive.
Stayed back to let us handle it ourselves. Now he came to make sure we were alive, to help bury the bodies of the raiders, to offer support in whatever way we needed.
You did good today, Cole, he said. All of you did good. We survived, that's all. No, you did more than survive. You chose. You chose to fight.
You chose to stand. You chose to believe that something better was possible. That's more than survival. That's living. He was right. We had chosen to believe, chosen to hope.
Chosen to build instead of run. The next weeks passed in a blur of work and healing. We buried the raiders far from the cabin, said no words over them.
They'd made their choices, earned their ends. We expanded the cabin, added a room for Aelin and Kiona, gave them a space that was truly theirs, fixed the barn, cleared more land.
Prepared for spring. And slowly, carefully, we became a family. Aelin taught me Apache ways of tracking, of reading the land, of understanding weather and animals. She was patient when I struggled.
Encouraging when I succeeded, and slowly the distance she'd kept melted away. She laughed more, smiled more, let herself be present instead of always watching for danger.
Kiona became the heart of our small family. She cooked meals that brought us together, sang songs that filled the silence, told stories that connected past and present. Her ankle healed completely.
And with it came a lightness I hadn't seen before, a joy that was contagious. And me, I learned to live again, not just survive but actually live, to laugh without guilt,
To hope without fear, to love without waiting for loss. One evening about a month after everything happened, Kiona found me on the porch. I'd taken to sitting out there in the evenings.
Watching the sunset, thinking about everything that had changed, she sat beside me. We were quiet for a while, then she said, "Do you still think about her, Margaret?"
Every day, but it's different now. How? Before I thought about her with guilt, with regret, with this sense that I'd failed her. But now when I think about her, I remember the good parts, the love, the laughter, the life we had, and I thank her for it instead of apologizing for losing it.
That is good. That is healing. Your father helped with that, what he said to Creed, about guilt being wasted time. That stuck with me.
Made me realize I'd been wasting years on guilt instead of spending them on living. Kiona leaned her head on my shoulder, a gesture that had become natural between us.
Comfortable. I am glad you stopped that day, she said. Glad you chose to see us, to save us. You gave us life. But you also gave yourself life.
Gave all of us a chance to be something new. I'm glad too. We sat like that until the sun disappeared, until stars emerged.
Until the cold drove us inside to warmth and family and home. Spring came eventually, snow melted, green appeared, flowers bloomed where we'd buried Ahanu, purple and yellow and white.
Beautiful. Aelin and Kiona planted a garden, taught me about corn and beans and squash, about planting in harmony, about respecting the land. Ezra visited often, became a permanent part of our small community.
an uncle of sorts, someone who'd chosen us as much as we'd chosen him, and one evening as we all sat around the fire, Aelin said something that made everything feel complete.
This is what Father wanted, what he fought for, not land or pride or revenge, just this, family, home, peace, a place where we belong. We do belong, Kiona agreed.
We three, we four with Ezra, We are tribe now, small tribe, but tribe nonetheless. I looked around at their faces lit by firelight.
At the cabin that had been a tomb and was now a home. At the life we'd built from survival and choice and love. Yes, I said, we are tribe.
We are family, and this is home. That night I went to Margaret's grave, had avoided it for weeks, but tonight felt right. I knelt in the grass that now grew there.
Placed my hand on the stone. I met some people, I told her. 2 sisters. They needed help. I helped them. And they helped me. Helped me find my way back to living.
Back to being human. I pulled out the wedding ring I'd carried for 7 years, looked at it one last time. Thank you for the years we had, for the love.
For everything you gave me. But it's time to let go now. Time to move forward. I think you'd understand. I think you'd want this for me.
I buried the ring beside her stone, not erasing her, just acknowledging that my life had moved beyond grief, beyond guilt, into something new. I'll always love you, I said.
But I'm learning to love again, and I think that's okay. I think that's what you'd want. I walked back to the cabin, to the light in the windows.
To the sound of voices and laughter, to Aylin and Kiona waiting, to family. 3 days passed after we buried Ahanu, 3 days of quiet work.
Of cooking and cleaning and pretending everything was normal, but something had changed. I could feel it in the way Aylin moved through the cabin, like she was already half gone.
On the 4th evening, she stood at the window watching the sunset. Her back was to us. Kiona sat at the table mending a shirt. I was cleaning the rifle.
The silence felt heavy, waiting. Finally, Aylin spoke without turning around. I need to leave. The words dropped into the room like stones into still water. Kiona's hands stopped moving. The needle hung frozen in mid-stitch. I set down the rifle slowly. What do you mean? Kiona asked. Her voice was small, scared. Aylin turned to face us.
Her expression was calm but determined, like she'd been working up to this moment for days. Maybe since the moment Ahanu died. I need to go south, to find what's left of our people.
To see if anyone from our band survived the raid, to honor Father by finishing what he started. Kiona stood up fast. The chair scraped against the floor. No.
We stay together. We have always stayed together. That is who we are. No. Aylin shook her head. That is who we were. But look at us now.
Look at you. She gestured around the cabin. You belong here. I see it in everything you do. The way you cook in this kitchen like it has always been yours.
The way you hum while you work. The way you look at coal when you think no one is watching. You have found home. Kiona's face flushed. That is not.
It is true, and I am happy for you, truly. But I have not found that yet. I still carry too much weight, too much guilt, to Coda.
Father, all the people we could not save, it sits on me like stones, and I cannot build a life here until I put those stones down. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the land we'd been working, the land that had started to feel like it belonged to all of us. How long? I asked.
I do not know. Months, maybe longer. I need to find our people, help them if I can, make peace with what happened, with who I am, with all the choices I made.
She looked at me directly. You understand this. You carried guilt for 7 years before you could let it go. I am asking for time to do the same.
To face my demons instead of running from them. I did understand, more than I wanted to admit. Because she was right. Until I'd faced what happened with Margaret, I'd been frozen. Unable to move forward, unable to really live. You will come back? Kiona asked. Her voice broke on the last word. Aylin crossed the room, knelt in front of her sister. Took both her hands. I will come back, I promise, but I need you to understand something. When I come back, it will not be because I have nowhere else to go.
It will not be because you need me or because I owe Cole for saving us. It will be because I choose to be here, because this is where I want to be.
And I need to know that difference, need to feel it. Tears ran down Kiona's face. We have never been apart, not since we were born. I do not know how to be me without you. Yes, you do. You have been becoming yourself this whole time. I have watched it. Watched you grow into someone separate from me.
Someone strong and wise and full of joy. You do not need me to be whole. You never did. Aylin stood, pulled Kiona up with her, wrapped her arms around her sister.
They held each other and cried, deep sobs that came from a place beyond words, the sound of 2 souls who had always been one learning to be 2. I walked outside.
Gave them privacy, stood on the porch looking at the stars. Ezra had told me once that the hardest part of love was knowing when to hold on and when to let go.
I understood that now more than ever. The door opened behind me. Aylin stepped out. Her eyes were red, but her face was peaceful. Thank you, she said. For what?
For not trying to make me stay, for understanding. I spent 7 years running from what I needed to face. I will not ask you to do the same.
She stood beside me. We watched the stars in silence for a while. Then she said, "Take care of her. She is stronger than she looks."
But she will need you while I am gone. I will, and you take care of yourself. Come back safe. I will try. The next morning came too soon.
Dawn broke cold and clear. Eileen had packed light, just a bedroll and some food. She would take Dutch. He was old but steady, would get her where she needed to go.
Kiona stood on the porch wrapped in Margaret's quilt. She had not said much since waking, just moved through the morning in silence, helping Aylin prepare.
Packing extra food she thought her sister might need. When everything was ready, Aylin mounted the horse, looked down at us, at Kiona, at me.
At the cabin that had become home for a little while. "This is not goodbye," she said. "This is I will see you soon." Kiona nodded, could not speak.
Just nodded. Aylin turned the horse south, started to ride away, then stopped, looked back. "Kiona, remember what Father said. Choose joy, choose life. Do not wait for me to be happy."
"Be happy now. Promise me." "I promise," Kiona whispered. Then Aylin rode away. We watched until she was just a speck on the horizon. Then nothing, just empty plains and morning light.
Kiona stood there for a long time after. I stood with her, did not try to fill the silence with words, just stood present while she grieved this new loss.
This chosen separation, finally she turned to me. "It hurts, I know, but it is right. I feel that too. Both things at once. That is how the important things feel. They hurt, and they are right at the same time." She leaned against me. "Let me hold her," while she cried, and I realized something. This was not the end of their story.
It was the beginning of them becoming individuals instead of just halves of a whole. The days that followed were strange. The cabin felt too quiet with just two of us.
Too empty, but we filled it with work, with routine, with the slow, steady rhythm of building a life. Kiona threw herself into making the cabin truly ours. She painted the walls with clay she mixed herself, hung dried herbs from the rafters, made curtains for the windows. Slowly, the place transformed from a bachelor's rough shelter into a real home. Ezra visited often, helped with the heavier work, and his presence filled some of the emptiness Aylin had left. He became family in his own way, the uncle we both needed.
Winter came. Snow fell, the same kind of snow that had nearly killed them months before. But now the cabin was warm, stocked, safe, and Kiona no longer looked at snow with fear.
Just acceptance. We sat by the fire one evening in late January, almost a year since I had found them. Kiona was sewing. I was carving a new handle for an axe. Comfortable silence between us. Then she said, "I think she will come back soon. How do you know?" "I feel it. Twin sense maybe, or just hope. But I feel it."
"I hope you are right. You miss her too." It was not a question. I nodded anyway. Yes, she is family, and family leaves a hole when they are gone.
But we are okay, you and me. We are enough even without her. We are, and it was true. We were okay, more than okay. We had built something real.
Something that did not depend on anyone else to exist, something that was ours. Spring came in March, snow melted, green returned. I was outside splitting wood when I heard it.
Horse hooves coming from the south. I looked up, shaded my eyes against the sun, saw a rider, a woman, long dark hair, sitting straight and proud, Aylin.
Kiona must have heard too because she came running from the cabin, did not even grab a coat, just ran through the mud toward her sister. They met halfway, collided.
Held each other, spun around laughing and crying at the same time. I walked over slowly, gave them their moment. When they finally released each other, Aylin turned to me.
And I saw it immediately, the change. The weight she had carried was gone. Her eyes were clear, her smile was real. "You came back," I said. "I did. Is the offer still good?"
"Can I still stay? This is your home, was always your home. We were just keeping it warm." She smiled wider. "I found them, our people, 26 survivors."
They made it to the Southern Territories. They are building a new settlement. Safe. Healing. I helped them through the winter, made sure they were stable. Then I came back. "You could have stayed with them," Kiona said. "I could have. They asked me to. But this is where I want to be. Not because I have to, because I choose to."
There is a difference. We walked back to the cabin together, the three of us, and it felt complete again. Not because we needed each other to survive.
But because we wanted each other, had chosen each other, that made all the difference. That night we sat around the fire. Aylin told stories about the journey, about finding the survivors, about helping them build new homes, about making peace with her father's memory, with Takota's memory, with all the ghosts she had been carrying. "I am free now," she said.
Really free to choose my own path, and I choose this, I choose us, I choose home. Kiona took her hand. I added wood to the fire.
And we sat in comfortable silence. 3 people who had survived everything the world threw at them. 3 people who had found each other in the worst possible circumstances.
3 people who had chosen to become family, not because blood demanded it, not because survival required it, but because love made it true.
And as the fire burned warm and the night settled peaceful around us, I understood the final lesson, the one that had taken me 7 years and a hard winter to learn.
Home is not a place you find, it is a place you build, with people who choose to stand beside you, with people who see you at your worst and stay anyway.
With people who understand that being family means more than sharing blood, it means sharing life. And we had built that, the 3 of us, built it from snow and survival and choice.
Built it from pain and healing and hope. Built it from nothing into something that would last. Family, tribe, home, not perfect, but real, and that was enough. That was everything.
And for the first time in 7 years, I felt complete, felt whole, felt alive in every way that mattered. The winter that nearly killed us all had passed. Spring had come.
And with it hope, with it healing, with it the understanding that sometimes the best things in life come from choosing to stop, to see, to care. I'd stopped in the snow that day.
Chosen to see 2 strangers, chosen to care enough to help, and that choice had saved 4 lives. Theirs, Ezra's, and most importantly mine, because sometimes being saved doesn't mean being rescued from danger.
Sometimes it means being rescued from yourself, from the prison of grief, from the isolation of guilt, from the slow death of just surviving.
And as I entered the cabin where my family waited, where warmth and love and life existed, I understood one final truth. The last winter was over. Spring had begun.
And we would face whatever came next together, as family, as tribe, as people who'd chosen each other when the world gave us every reason to walk away.
And that choice, that simple decision to stop in the snow and see 2 people who needed help, had made all the difference, had made everything possible, had made us whole. The end.